What if architecture wasn't solely about beauty, but a reflection of life itself? For Otto Wagner, buildings weren't monuments to the past, but functional works of art that must reflect the ever-changing nature of society. But before I get ahead of myself, who was Otto Wagner? Born on July 13, 1841, in the Penzig district of Vienna, Austria, Wagner developed an early interest in architecture, beginning his studies at the Vienna Polytechnic Institute at only 16 years old. After concluding his initial studies there, he travelled to Berlin where he studied with the classicist Carl Ferdinand Buss. From there, he would return again to Vienna in 1861, where he would continue his education. Wagner's first major project was the Orthodox synagogue on Rumbach Street. Although more in line with the architectural style of the time, the synagogue helped Wagner establish what architecture meant to him, that above all, buildings need to be functional. While his early designs followed a more neoclassical or Renaissance style, around 1890 a notable shift occurred as he became more progressive, with his buildings looking much more modern in comparison to his time. Returning to the Academy of Fine Arts in Vienna in 1894, Wagner became a professor of architecture. He also, in 1897, joined a movement known as the Vienna Secession. This culminated in Otto insisting upon the importance of moving away from the historic forms, especially the Romanticist style, and towards architectural realism. As a quick aside, architectural realism is an approach to architecture originating years earlier in Britain, which aimed to emphasize the real form of buildings and highlight the materials from which they are built. This concept was revolutionary in the Austrian architectural landscape, and with his colleagues in the Vienna Succession movement, Wagner pioneered a style of architecture with no excessive decoration, where buildings spoke for themselves. Additionally, Wagner, during his time at the Vienna Academy of Fine Arts, published his influential Modern Architecture, which is still relevant today. In this book, he collates his ideas on the role of the architect in society. Wagner believed the new successionist style should express an emotional and intellectual change from the style of yesteryear and integrate realist ideas into their designs. Additionally, with his focus on using more contemporary materials and construction methods, Wagner believed that the new buildings should have exterior panels on which to express artistic motifs. Wagner stated, architecture must reflect contemporary living conditions and methods of construction, and for the present this means that architects must embrace the pervading realism of the time, insisting that architecture must be reflective of the time in which it was built. This can be seen in his ornamentation, which, unlike the older styles, appears primarily on the surface of buildings whilst the building beneath is very modern. He also tended to integrate the building's materials into its design instead of obscuring them beneath ornamentation, creating a tectonic appearance. This all comes together in probably his most famous building, the Austrian Postal Savings Bank, constructed in 1906. This structure highlights Wagner's core belief that form must follow function, which is clearly seen throughout the building's design. The Austrian Postal Savings Bank is constructed of reinforced concrete, an incredibly modern material choice for its time, demonstrating Wagner's dedication to using contemporary building techniques and styles. The facade of the building is constructed from marble slabs. These are an easy to clean and maintain material and thus a functional choice that was both striking and practical. These slabs were fixed to the outside with mortar and decorated with aluminium, a material Otto found highly valuable. Aluminium, a material which had only recently been made more widely available, was used for the rivets on the marble slabs and for the decorative statues that give the building its distinctive appearance. Moving to the interior of the building, potentially the most striking part of the construction is visible, the massive skylight in the center of the building. The skylight floods the building with natural light, which reduces the need for, at the time, expensive gas or electric lights. The materiality of the skylight is also continued directly below on the floor of the bank, which is also constructed from glass. Wagner also chose to continue his integration of the materials the building was constructed from into the small details, with aluminium being used for the majority of fixtures and fittings, including doorknobs, grills, and lamps. This integration of the building's construction materials throughout the whole design leads to a tectonic style, paying great respect to the materials and the time period the Austrian Postal Savings Bank was built in. Otto Wagner was an important figure that had great influence on architecture in Europe during the 20th century, and the influence of the ideas and styles he pioneered can still be seen in architecture today.